Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, USA Global TV and Radio watchers and listeners. Mariska du Preez here today on our show, Talking Heads. And we are looking at delegation. So, as you know, I work with leaders going from specializations into leadership as well as leaders moving up in their leadership journey. And as specialists, especially moving into leadership, delegation can sometimes feel very daunting. It also feels very daunting if we are already an established leader and we move into a new area, or there's a lot of change taking place around us. Why is that? Well, first of all, typically, for most of us, the best way for us to learn is to do it ourselves first. So we get to have all the skills, we understand the things that it is that we need to do, how it works, what it is that needs to happen or to make it happen. And then, of course, well, we know and we can do it a lot faster than most of our team. So it becomes really tricky for us to then delegate because our team members might not know what to do, or they might not have the relevant information, or whatever the nice excuses is that we think of for not delegating something to them. Now, I want to help you guys out with a little bit of a framework that you can use when you think about how you want to delegate to your team and whether it is the appropriate approach to take or not, and how it works. So what we're going to do is we are looking at a framework or a matrix for delegation. And the matrix is on our vertical axis. We have capability, so how capable the person or people are that we want to delegate the task to. So if they have a low capability, it is lower down on our vertical scale. If they have a high capability, it's higher up on our vertical scale. Then the next axis that we're looking at is our horizontal axis. And on our horizontal side, we're really looking at the willingness of the person, so their enthusiasm or the energy that they have to do this task. Now, if the energy or enthusiasm for the task is low, that goes more towards the left-hand side of our matrix. And if it is high, it goes towards the right-hand side of our matrix. So to give you guys a quick view of how this looks like, I actually drew it on a Post-it note. And there you go. Luckily, my green screen didn't interfere with that too much. So we will also then, on our matrix that we have created, divide it into two so that we have 4 blocks in total. So the 4 blocks, we will start at the upper left-hand corner, and that would be block A. The next one, the one next to it, is block B. The one just below the right-hand top one, so the right-hand bottom one, is block D, and the one in the very, very corner of our matrix, that's block C. So hopefully you would be able to replicate this matrix for yourself. Now, how does this work? Well, what we're looking at is firstly, how capable is this person or team to do the thing that we want them to do? Now, if the capability is, let's start with low capability and low energy for doing the thing. So they're not very capable at doing it. Maybe it's the very first time they're trying to do it, and they're really not very enthusiastic about the task. Well, then typically, preferably, we don't want to give it to them at all. The reason for this is because they're not capable of doing the thing, and the energy for doing the thing is fairly low. The likelihood if we delegate the thing to them is going to be disaster, and we don't want disaster. So we want to then either increase their capability or increase the willingness or the energy around the task at hand. So there's a couple of ways for us to do this as leaders. Inspiring our team is one of the ways that we can move the willingness or the energy level around the task. Putting some competition in there, that would also move the energy level, or helping our team member or team to see what the benefit is to them. All of that would help them to move along our horizontal axis. Now, what we look at next is, what do we do with the capability? So we have a team member, they can do this thing blindfolded. They do not have a problem with doing the task whatsoever, but they're really, really unenthusiastic to do it, right? Maybe they've done it 1,000 times and they don't feel like doing it anymore. It's boring. For them, it's boring. They want to move on to doing something else. So yes, of course, we can delegate it to them. They will know what to do. But because of the energy level not being ideal, the likelihood of them taking a long time to do it, moaning and groaning to actually get it done is quite significant. And we don't really want that. So a way of harnessing their expertise and getting them a little bit more enthusiastic about getting this task done is to ask them to teach. So what we will do is we will get somebody that doesn't have as much capability and possibly a little bit more enthusiasm and willingness to do it, and they can teach that person. Which actually then, so that person would be in our person that's unenthusiastic but knows what to do is in the A block, right? And they will, in all likelihood, teach the person in the D block. So it's sort of a that way around, cross-functional sort of action that's going to happen there. So the person that's really capable of doing the thing, they know the task really well, or they have done this a couple of times, they can teach a person that do not have the capability. They haven't done this 1,000 times. Maybe this is the very first time that they're doing it. And they are a new person. They just came out of university or college or just started work. And they're very enthusiastic, right? So there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of willingness. They want to prove themselves. And we really, really want to channel that energy into the right area so that they don't destroy stuff as they go, but actually utilize the energy optimally. So we will take one of the people that has high capability, pair them with the person that has a lot of energy for it, and the person that has the loads of energy will be doing the thing where the person with a lot of capability will be teaching in that scenario. So of course, that also then sorts out our block where we have a person that has a lot of energy. So this is a new recruit. They haven't done the task lots of times. They might be new to the environment or new to the industry. They don't know what they don't know yet. They do have a lot of energy. They really want to make this work. So for them, we can't totally delegate everything that they need to do because they're still learning. If we were to delegate something to them without giving them any guidance whatsoever, they will be willingly, most probably breaking something, which is not ideal. So we don't want to make more work for ourselves or for them. We want to make it easier on everybody. So the best way of doing that is to pair them up with somebody that already knows. Now, it might be that we have a person that is very capable and very willing. So that's a person that we can fully delegate to. So if there is a specific task or project that we have and we need to delegate in order for us to manage our own time better, we can fully delegate that portion of the work to that person. Now, that person might be a team leader, right? So they have a high willingness, they know exactly what it is that they need to do, and they can also help to teach the guys that has a high willingness but don't really know what to do. Now, ideally, when we're looking at a team, we want to have a little bit of a balance. We don't want more people not knowing what to do in a team than the people knowing what to do. What happens if we do have that sort of situation is it is going to take us longer to actually perform the task. Now, it is good if we are in an environment where we are learning. So when it is a learning environment, it's a learning environment for all of them, setting them up in a way that they understand that this is a learning environment, as well as having some performance measures around it would be helpful for them to actually perform to a specific standard with the understanding that the intent is the learning, not necessarily the performance. So it is looking at performance increase. It is not looking at a specific performance outcome. Therein lies the difference. So understanding what type of task it is and who we allocate to it is also very, very important. Because if we have a task where performance is the most important thing, then preferably we would like to give that task to a person that has on the vertical scale very high competency and on the willingness or energy scale a very high willingness as well. We know that this will work out brilliantly. Now, being a specialist moving into leadership, we might think that is us. Well, I have news for you. Other people can do it too. We need to give them the opportunity to do it in order for us to see it. Now, I know for a lot of specialists, that is one of those areas where it is control that we need to relinquish. And it can feel daunting. Now, the thing that I want us to consider is the fact that if, as a specialist, we had specific Lego blocks that we played with, in order for us to start playing with new Lego blocks, we need to let go of the old ones, which means we need to give our old Lego blocks to somebody else. and determining what sort of person we need to give it to. So is it a person that has a high skill and has a high willingness? So can we delegate the whole building block process to somebody else that is within our team? Or is there maybe a person that's got medium capability, right? So they know enough of it, more than maybe 50% of it. So they're within the capability range and they're very willing to help out. So helping them to do that. What we also need to take into consideration is when we have people that has a lower capability and a very high willingness, so they really want to help us, we can also set them up by having some form of training material. So this might look like standard operating procedures. So SOPs, for instance, would be something that would help them out. So if we have very detailed standard operating procedures that they can go through and make it easy for them to go, okay, this is the first step, this is the second step, and they can follow along, it helps them to then learn through that process. Of course, if we are driving performance, that might not be the ideal person to give it to, because they will, as I mentioned earlier on, take a little bit more time along the way. So we need to look at what exactly it is that we want to accomplish with the thing that needs to be done. So that leads us to one of the other matrices that we call the Eisenhower matrix, and that looks at our prioritization. So really understanding the priority that we are working with. Because when we have something with a high priority and it has a high importance attached to it, so it maybe has an influence on our performance and an influence on our bottom line, then we also need to evaluate who it is that we're going to give this task to. So understanding the importance as well as the urgency of the thing that needs to be done will help us to then evaluate which person would be best for us to give this task over to. And utilizing the people that we have in our vicinity with the expertise for a specific task or specific thing that we want them to do. Because yes, I know we are all exceptional human beings, and in saying that, we all have our own strengths. So the strengths that you bring to the table versus the strengths that I bring to the table will most probably be different. And we absolutely want to work towards each person's strength within our team. So understanding also how those elements incorporate into what it is that we want to accomplish helps us to determine whether this is a task that would be great for us to delegate to the person or not. So one way that I go about figuring out whether this type of task might be on a higher or lower energy plane for a person is to find out how they grade the task. So understanding from my team what is A tasks for them. So if we think about back in school, stuff that we got A marks for. So say, for instance, it was mathematics, your favorite subject. You always got an A for it. Well, then that is an A topic for you. Then we have the Bs. The Bs are things that, yeah, we're not too bad with them. We're way better than 50% with them. So we're still in that upper quartile, and we can do them fairly easily. We also don't mind doing them because we're still getting Bs for them. Then we have our Cs, which, well, we can do them. We're not as fond of them. And it's most probably going to take us a little bit longer because there might be a few mistakes that slip in. Then, of course, we have our D and F sort of work. Now, D work means that it's sort of a hit and miss. Half of the time I get it, half of the time I don't. And typically not something that I'm really fond of doing. Of course, my F work is stuff that I just really don't want to do. Honestly, if you're going to give it to me, it's most likely going to be a mess. I'm going to take forever to do it. I'm going to procrastinate on it. And it will come back to you, and hopefully it comes back to you. So understanding what that is for each of our team members makes it easier for us to know when to delegate something to a specific team member and when it makes more sense for us not to do so. Because it gives us clarity on that horizontal line around the willingness and the energy that they feel like they can put into that task, even though maybe capability-wise they might not be too bad with it. It might be C work for them, but they really don't want to be doing it. So understanding all of these different elements within the space of delegation helps us to then delegate more effectively and not give something to a person and then it ends up being a mess and we think to ourselves, well, I sort of knew this was going to happen. So we pat ourselves on the back and not realize that maybe we didn't set that person up for success. So making sure that we can set our team members up for success, looking at how it is that we delegate and how it is that we are actually supporting them to make the best out of our team and help everybody to grow and lift up. So that is our lesson on delegation for today. I hope that you have written down quite a few key takeaways. So things to consider as a little bit of a recap is our delegation matrix, as well as our importance and urgency matrix, so Eisenhower, and also taking into consideration what's the strengths that we are working with for this individual and playing to their strengths. So think about your ABCs from school. And that is the end of our lesson today. If you would like to have any more information on this, or you have a few more things to fine-tune within your leadership space and you want to bring more humanness into your leadership space, please do reach out. You can do so via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, you can do so via my LinkedIn. Just drop me a direct message in there and we can start our conversation. And that is me for the lesson for today. Until next time, enjoy your leadership journey. Bye.